Hello all together and welcome to our webinar for Colamo. First of all, let me introduce the people you will listen today. This is our first webinar for Colamo, a little new thing for us, but to be exact, it's the second one. We had the first webinar yesterday in German, so this is the first webinar in English. First of all, I would like to introduce Sebastian Dolch. He is our internal responsible person for Colamo, did all the initial setup, organized everything, and made this happening. So unfortunately, he was a bit ill before this webinar, and that's why you have to accept me as a speaker for today. My name is Mario Holler, and I'm Managing Director at Conceito. Third in our round is Patrick Wiesner. You probably got to know him before, as he did the presentation of Colamo at the Automechanica in September, and also organized all the invitations to this webinar. He will later on show you the system live in usage. Before this, I will give you a short introduction. The first time we presented Colamo was at the Automechanica this year in September. We had many people that were interested in the CMS, and that's why we decided to have a webinar like this to be able to show you more details, and afterwards we'd like to also hear your requirements and needs and your opinion about the system. Before we go to the system presentation, let me say about the companies that are behind it. As you probably have noticed on the presentation flyers, Colamo is a product of InLoopX. They will also do the further development, and the operation will be done by InLoopX. Already back in 2016, we presented together with InLoop at the Automechanica the HoloLens. At this time, the HoloLens was just the hardware. We had different use cases with AR applications at the Automechanica, but we were also could proudly present the HoloLens, as because of InLoop's contacts to the USA, we were able to show it in Germany already. Since then, prototypes have been done, and InLoop and Conceito wanted to have a product that fits needs in reality. So InLoop created, together with a customer who designs furnitures, Colamo, and Colamo was also used for InLoop to become a certified member of the Microsoft Mixed Reality Partner Program, which means that InLoop is not only able to develop with the HoloLens, they are one of the companies that are certified by Microsoft. InLoopX and Conceito work together since a very long time. We have done successful projects in the past, like the Mercedes-Benz Guides app that shows the user manuals for all cars by Mercedes-Benz worldwide. Here in this case, Conceito acts as a project and distribution partner for Colamo. That's why we introduced Colamo here on the Automechanica. InLoop has the technical know-how. We contribute with project and process know-how that we have mainly in the automotive sector, in logistics, and other production industries. In our consulting projects, we also focus on new technologies because we're interested in it. It makes fun for us, but we see also the usage in enabling new processes and bringing new efficiencies to different processes. So that's why we always had a look from the beginning on augmented reality or other technologies like chatbot, and combine that with our process know-how in technical documentation. That's why we see here a lot of potential for Colamo, and we hope so you do that too. So what are we going to show you today? Well, the first step we have already done. Welcome and introduction. Second, I'd like to give you an overview on Colamo and explain typical usage of Colamo. But then we have the main part, the demonstration of the system, administration in the content management system, the iPad client, and of course the HoloLens. After the live demo, we have a question and answer session. We would like to give you the possibility to ask your questions, and hopefully we can answer them. For this answer session, just use the chat functionality to place the questions, and we read the questions and answer them directly in the webinar. After this session, we would like to introduce you the alpha test. The alpha test is a test phase which gives you the possibility to get to know Colamo by yourself, try it out, but also you have the chance to give us your feedback and participate in the construction of the final product. So what is Colamo about? The heart of Colamo is the cloud-based content management system. In the content management system, you are able to manage workspaces. So you create your own workspace. Within a workspace, you're able to administrate the users, give them roles and rights, and create different projects. In a project, you can upload the models, describe the models, and leave the notes. So this is mainly the main features shortly summarized of the content management system. You bring that to life using any browser. That means if you log in as a user in the browser, you are able to see the projects and work with the models. We have the iPad client, and the iPad client works together with the Apple Arcade. That means it allows you to place the model in the room and work interactively with the model. Even more interaction is given with the Microsoft HoloLens, because here we have the mixed reality approach, and you can have multi-user sessions, so people working together can see the same thing. So this is the overview of Colamo, and in the beginning the main usages we thought about, or InLoop thought about, is the collaborative design process, but it's also, in our opinion, good to use for object-based learning. So what it is about is, first of all, presentation. You're able to introduce a new product and explain it in detail. You can bring it to life, adding animations to this model or to single steps. So this is an optimal platform to present a product. If you want to collaborate, you can add descriptions for materials and dimension and put everything up for discussion. To do so, you're able to invite other people to a project and discuss with them. People can leave comments, make annotations, and these annotations can be added and remarked and closed. And with the HoloLens, you even have common sessions together. For learning and training purposes, just explain your parts and products in detail and create step-by-step instruction. In each step, you can have a different model, part, or view, and you can use the notes functionality to highlight details, describe a detail in more detail, or add picture to this detail. So this is the basic usage, but we of course are eager to hear from you what you think about these use cases, and if you have other use cases in mind where you think Colamo could suit your needs. This is the talk about Colamo, but now let's have a look at the system now. We want to give you a live demonstration where we want to show you from the beginning on, from the first start, how that would work. That means create a workspace, add a project, and so on. I will now hand over to Patrick, who will show you the system.
Thank you very much. Greetings also from my side. I will now start sharing my screen. Okay, what you can see now is the starting page of Colamo, colamo.com, and setting up a workspace is fairly simple. As usual, you click on sign up. There you have the choice to either log in to an existing workspace or create a new one. Let's imagine I want to offer some trainings via this workspace. So I create a new workspace by entering my email address, enter my name and a password. In the next step, I can name the workspace. Let's call it Webinar Great Britain, and also invite co-workers to the workspace already. So I will just invite my colleagues. And create the workspace. And as you see, instantly the workspace is available. Here we have the home page, let's say it that way, with a small menu on the top right and the notification bell and the possibility to add a new project. When doing this, I can define a project name. Let's call this Gearbox, and add a cover image for this particular project. After doing this, I have the option to create as many models as I like inside this project. So the first step would be an animation of the dismantling and reassembling of a gearbox. So let's just assume that during the training session, I would like to teach the subjects of the training what the specific parts of a gearbox are and how they all interact with each other, and how a gearbox is disassembled and reassembled again. So I upload this model, and what happens now is that the system starts to process all the information and the data, so that the system can later then depict the model. Let's add another model containing some nodes. It's also an FBX file. So Colamo uses the standard FBX file format, which is used by different programs for CAC or CAD or animations or 3D models in general. And when creating the project, the same thing happens here as well. So what we can do at this step is open the model and go to model details. And here we have the option to enter descriptions, which will later be shown directly to the users of the application. This is done quite easily. So this tells what the model is about and explains some of the things that can be seen. Let's do the same for the second model, explaining some of the features of Colamo in this case. And when saving, of course, this is done. So the second model is still processing. You can see it took about 2 minutes. Another thing I would like to show at this stage is the demonstration of the model depiction. Since the processing still takes some time, I would log out and log into an existing workspace that we have already prepared. Here we also have the two models, slightly differently named. And when opening the model, the system loads the engine for the first time. And this information is shown correspondingly. And yes, now we can take a look at the model. We can turn it and also display an animation if an animation is present. We can pause the animation, reset it, start again. And there's also the possibility to view notes that have been added already. So in this case, we have Note B explaining that this is the motor mount, for example, or node C, which is liking this particular piece. It's also possible, of course, to add new nodes. And this can be done by a simple double click and entering the node text. So we can add a question, for example, and this question is directly linked to this specific part where I double clicked. It's also possible in this stage to view comments and comment or reply to specific comments. It's also possible to resolve comments that have been dealt with, or reopen them if something comes up again. And yeah, that's about it in the view of the model. Another thing that I would like to show at this stage is the user management. So in workspace settings, it is possible to invite additional members to the workspace. And when doing so, one can choose between 3 different roles with different rights. And it's also possible to assign specific members of the workspace to specific projects and administrate the audience, so to speak, of the projects on a project level. Yeah. So much about the web interface of Colamo. In the next step, I would like to show you the app view from the iPad. This I will just quickly switch the desktop. What I show you now is the iPad, and on the iPad we have the Colamo app, and are already logged into the workspace. So I can now open the project webinar GB in a project, and it starts by scanning the surrounding. So the camera recognizes the floor and allows me to place the model onto the ground. When I'm satisfied, I can click OK and have all the information present. Here I see the description. I can also switch to notes that have been added. And I can also start the animation. It's also possible to speed it up or slow it down by the typical pinching movement. And it's also possible to switch to the next model in this project, which is the one with the nodes. And as we can already see here are the nodes that we have previously seen, the motor mount, the like icon, and also the node that I just added a few seconds ago. And at this stage it's also possible to add comments and interact with other users. So much about the iPad. Now, if possible, if the system allows it, I would like to show you the same view from the HoloLens. So here we have the software of the HoloLens. I can now open the Colamo app, and it always starts with prompting me to scan the QR code of the workspace. This I have done already this morning, and I have placed the panel on this wall and the model down here on the floor. So this is how it looks like with the HoloLens. I'm also able, like in the app view, to switch between the models and walk around the model, play the animation, pause it, scale up the model, rotate it, all those shenanigans. So much about the HoloLens. If there are any questions, I propose that we answer them in the question section. And in this case, I would then head over back to Mario.
Okay, we are back at after this demonstration to the question and answer session. Everyone said, oh, we have one question, yes. The question is if Colamo also runs on browser on Android devices. I mean, you saw that we used it here on standard browsers, and if you install these browsers on the Android tablet, it will work there too. There might be bugs, but that's everything we want to find out in the alpha test phase. So if there would be still bugs on certain browsers running on different platforms, we want to also find that out during the alpha test phase, but basically that's possible. Is it possible to move the parts of the model live in the session? Yes, it's possible. You can move single parts if you have integrated an animation, and then it was not possible to see that in the presentation. In the iPad, you can use your fingers to really move single parts. It depends a bit on how you created the model with your CAD program. You're always able to move the whole model around the room or walk around to get closer to the model. I hope this answers the questions. If not, just ask again. Next question is if we cooperate with any engineering company on further details, on further development, getting feedback. No, at the moment we have no cooperation with a special company. Colamo is designed as an open system, open for many use cases and open just to upload the models. We are not planning, for example, to provide a content management system with models for that belong to an O&M or to a distributor of technical documentation or something like that. So, and we also, of course, want to find out what the customers of Colamo would need, like if they would be able to have their own models, have their own CAD drawings, prepare them for the content management system, how they need it, to prepare their training, to just upload what they do in the design process anyhow. So the basic idea in the design process is you design a new product and you do CAD drawings in that process anyhow. And you just have no additional work, you just export it from the CAD program in the FBX format and upload it to the content management system and share it with your customers or with other designers or engineers. Is the implementation of this software a project or is it plug and play? What effort costs can be expected? Well, as you have seen, the content management system is available in the web. It's hosted in the AWS and you can log in, create your user. So there's no installation at all. You can then download the HoloLens app or the iPad app and you need to install the apps. That's it. Everything then is handled by the system. The efforts you have is creating the models and making the descriptions. So that's all about it. It's not more effort. What use cases do you think are the most appropriate for Colamo? I think that is an interesting question that of course I would like to give back also to the audience. From our perspective, we thought about this cooperative design process. So for example, in that use case, you have a new product like machine part or furniture. You're designing it, you want feedback from your customers, from the other designers, you can use that. You can use Colamo to collect the feedback and to discuss. So that is the first use case Colamo is designed for. The second is distribution of technical documentation, because we think that documentation together with the model is very lively and makes the documentation much better. Also, because you're able to create these step-by-step instructions, you are able to have a very good assembly or disassembly instruction where you, for example, could teach new people in the workshop how to work with the model. And you could also integrate it in some learning environment that you might already have. The next question is it possible to share the view if I have two HoloLens in the same room? Yes, this is possible. This is one of the main advantages of the HoloLens solution of Colamo, that you can have these interactive multi-user sessions. How does the collaboration across team works, please? Can you explain on some example, please? Is it possible to collaborate when the team is international? Yes, of course. I think that is also a big advantage, because you don't need to share software environment or create additional web sessions. You can really use Colamo to collaborate, because everybody can log in from the location where he is. So that means if you produce a product in Germany or your customer is in the US, you can have the session together with the system access. It's possible to easily to cooperate, exchange the annotations and comments. So it shortens the time for getting decisions and judgments on a new product. And of course, it allows to distribute, for example, object-based learning, that a producer makes setups, the trainings, and his customers all over the world can use these trainings. So that is what the system is designed for. Next question from Peter Skorik. Is the alpha test participant seats limited? Should we hurry to sign in? Also a good question. No, it's not limited. And I will explain everything to the alpha test in next step. Are there any more questions? If not, I would go to the next session and explain the alpha test phase. Okay, so I'll directly switch to the explanation of the alpha test phase, where we would like to invite you, so you have the possibility to try out Colamo. The goal that we have is that we'd like to stabilize Colamo in a friendly user group and to better understand the requirements of the market, because we want to, in the end, develop a better product that helps you to streamline your processes in design or training or learning. It's possible to start at once after the webinar. That means we gave us a period of like starting December the 1st, and we made the period quite long. That means until the end of May next year. So you could set up your alpha test in this period. You do not need to start at once, but you could, if you want to, prepare your models and work with the system. Registration is possible, of course, directly in the webinar. So if you post here that you are interested in the alpha test, we will record it and come back to you. But what we would like also to do is do the follow-up mailing to this webinar. In this follow-up mailing, we will distribute all the material that you see here, also the recording of the webinar. And if you react on the mailing, giving us your interest, we will also give you a direct contact person. Well, I think it's interesting to know that the usage of Colamo during this alpha test phase is free of charge. so there's no charge, because we are still in the process to develop a price model. A price model in our, we are not sure about it, because it depends on many variables, like the amount of data you will upload, the amount of users that you will use. But for sure, we can promise that it will be a fair price model, because the goal is to make Colamo available for a large number of users and not have it exclusively for special picked up customers. But the advantage if you participate in the alpha test is you can give us your feedback on what is an appropriate price regarding also the value you get out of Colamo. We want to give you direct support during this alpha test phase to help you using the system, also to be first level with in-loop X as third and second level in the background, and also to hear your new requirements during this phase. We will collect the new requirements and, if possible, integrate them into a release plan. What we can promise is that all bugs that will be found during the test phase will be fixed, so that on the production startup we have a bug-free system that is available to you. That means at the end of the test phase, the alpha test, we have a version 1 that works with the features you saw today, and maybe additional features if they are really required. Cannot promise this, but that depends on that's the character of the alpha test phase. And then there is a rough plan to really have a subsequent release also in next year. Your data is secured from the beginning on. As I said, it's hosted in the AWS, and you have your separate workspace that belongs to you. And the alpha test already happens in the production environment, so you can use your data if you continue with the test afterwards. Otherwise, your workspace will be deleted. On demand, we have not decided yet. It depends on the participants of the alpha test, if that is wanted. An exchange between the participants could be organized. So if you would like, as an alpha test group, discuss the needs or how the feelings about Colamo, we could organize it, but that is something we would like to decide later on, depending on the participants. So this is what we think the alpha test could look like, and we hope that the webinar made this attractive to you, give you a more detailed insights into Colamo. And yeah, that's about it. At this point, I would like to say thank you again for participating in this webinar. I hope you had an interesting demonstration, and we would be really happy to hear again from you, and would be happy to see you again in the alpha test. Thank you for your attention, and goodbye.
Thanks.
Thanks, bye.